Hey guys, it's Holy Taboo, and if you're new to Black Desert Online or you want to get into it, then this video might be perfect for you. In this, I'm going to go through in 30 seconds each class and spec. Now, two things I'm going to talk about is if a class has an awakening, which is your like how the game started. You had your normal weapon, then you had awakening weapon, and succession. Now, succession is just a new way to fight in the game, which means you don't use your other weapon set of skills anymore. So if you hear me say between awakening and succession, that's basically it. Now keep in mind there's been a lot of nerfs and buffs going around at the moment, so yeah, this is a very quick overview. 30 seconds to talk about each class individually isn't that much, so as you can imagine, it's going to leave a lot there. Now just keep in mind, if you are looking to it, you've got to play what you enjoy. Ignore tier lists, ignore what's supposedly the best. If you enjoy it, you think it looks cool, then play it. This is really just to give you a very brief idea of what's going on. And for those wondering where the rest of my videos are with Succession, they are coming. I promise you, I have been not just lazy, I've been so busy in real life at the moment, but they are coming soon. So anyway, sit back, enjoy, and hopefully you're about to see me go through every single class, splash, spec in video, and talk about each one in a 30-second increment. So enjoy, and I hope this helps you pick a class if you're new to the game, because it really is a fantastic game. So, the Awakened Warrior. This is your very traditional, has a massive sword type character. As far as their playstyle, it's not so easy to learn. It has quite a medium style pace, and it is an average grinder. Now, you will have this big ass sword with you. Now, keep in mind with this class, it does require you to have good FPS in order to get the maximum out of it. So, for a beginner, I potentially avoid a little bit the Awakened Warrior, but still there is a good alternative coming up next, which is the Succession Warrior. Now the Succession Warrior is more sword and board orientated. Now this is a lot more easy to learn in comparison. The pace is a little bit slower as well, which is nice, and actually it's a top grinder. Who'd have thought? This character, this spec for the warrior, does so much damage to PvE. It can just go in there and absolutely decimate it. So as far as a character to go, this is a pretty nice one to think about doing. A lot of Succession does take more skill points though, so just keep that in mind, because that will be something that will draw you back. Now, the Awakened Ranger, you are half ranged, half melee. So you have your bow stance, which you can do some bow damage with, and you're Awakened, you have the Camasylvian swords. This is a very fast-paced class in comparison to some of the others, or it can be. It is quite easy to learn, especially the sort of the pre-awakening part, as I'd say, and it is a pretty good grinder, so keep that in mind. You will do quite well, and it's a nice class to go into. It is ranged and a bit of melee, so if you can't decide, this is a nice one. So next then, of course, we have the ranged succession. Now this is where your ranger then turns into a full-on ranged class. This is still quite noob friendly, or say easy to learn, so keep that in mind. It makes it a lot easier to play. It's fairly fast paced, not as much as some of the others, and is still a very good grinder. It has had some nerfs since it first came out, so if you watch videos saying it's OP, that might not be the case anymore. But again, a nice one to jump onto if you really want to go on a class which isn't so sort of taxing at the start. So, the Sorc Awakening. I mean, the Sorc is known for having lots of iframes. The Sorc's playstyle is sort of you iframe around to not take damage, then all of a sudden you'll come out, you'll do some CC, and then you'll charge up a big hitting damage move, which, you then use your scythe for in a lot of times. And you know what? It's a cool looking weapon, the scythe. It's not so easy for new people to get into, but when you get into it, it is a very good grinder. But yeah, not so noob friendly as such, or easy to learn, so keep that in mind. Similar, I'm going to say similar with the Sorc Succession. Yes, it might be a little bit easier because you've got less moves to do, but again, the playstyle of the Sorc and making sure you get it right to do good PvE grinding, Sorc is a little bit harder than some of the others, so just keep that in mind if you're looking at playing this class, if you're looking at picking it up. So Sorc, very high end, very good for a lot of things. Not so good for a beginner to pick up if, you're not going to invest the time into learning to play it at that very high level. So just keep that in mind. So the Berserker Awakening, you have 2 axes for pre-awakening, which you hold, and then your awakening, you basically have hand cannons. So even though you are majority melee, you do have some ranged attack with you. This isn't the easiest class to pick up. There are a few cancels to get into, but if you like the going in, swinging swords around, and even to a point where you can shoot things and use cannons to project yourself across the screen, yeah, a very good class, and it always has a spot in Node Wars, so just keep that in mind. Really good. Now, the Berserker Succession, it has had like an array of buffs since I did my video on it the first time, But yeah, don't hold your breath. You know, if a lot of people have just stuck with the Awakening at the moment, hopefully they'll do a bit of a rework for it. It's still nice to grind with, but again, I wouldn't say it's necessarily sort of beginner player friendly. So just keep that in mind. And the speed and to grind, it's average. It's just meh. The Awakening is a much better, but again, for a beginner class, I'd probably avoid this, but that's just my personal opinion. Now, the Valkyrie Awakening, you have your sword and board to start with, and then you awaken into a lancer. Yes, you have a big ass lance. You're not slow, but your moves are a bit more clunky. Though you can put things together, you do have a very big succ and AoE pull-in. It is fairly easy to grind with, and there's not necessarily loads to learn compared to some other classes. But yeah, so this is a nice one if you want to do it. Having the block, having the heal, having like a PA is pretty nice, so just keep that in mind. Now, when you go to the Succession, I know a lot of people like this, it felt a bit easier for some, but a lot of them just go back to the Awakening anyway. But yes, the Valkyrie can still grind very well in Succession. In fact, it is still better for Succession at a lot of places, just not the high-end stuff. But again, as far as easy to learn, Valk's not too much of a bad one to jump on if you like that sort of sword and board type class. And just keep in mind, there'll be a few things you'll need to learn and get used to, but hey, for it to come into the game, Valkyrie's pretty nice. And again, you're always going to be welcome in Node Wars. Now, Wizard. I love this class. It's the first one that I ever played in BDO, and I think it's exceptionally new player friendly. The reason why is you have heals, you have shields, you actually have bonus AP just on the class in general. And yeah, it's really nice for it. I'll say the same for the Witch as well. But yeah, and the Awakening, you actually do have a grab, which is quite nice. You're a bit more melee ranged as a wizard with your Awakening, but still really cool, very, very strong, and, you know, good fun to play. Very, very noob friendly. Now, the Wizard Succession isn't so noob player friendly, mainly because to do the most out of it, you're constantly doing combos like bang, bang, bang. And because of that, you need to know all of the spells. Your muscle memory has to be there, as well as cooldowns to manage it well. So where the Awakening is a lot more new player friendly, the Succession is going to be a little bit harder, and it takes a ridiculous amount of skill points to be able to play the Succession at its full glory. So just keep that in mind if you are tempted to do that. So at the start, you want to stay with Awakening. The Witch is kind of similar. In fact, it's very similar. The pre-Awakening kit is just about exactly the same, or is exactly the same. The Awakening, though, you have, even though some say they test the spells and there's not much difference in the range, you do have a little bit more range on the Witch Awakening, and you have a block instead of a grab one that you can hold, which is, it's quite nice. Again, this class does very well for new players and beginners. It's a very forgiving class to get into, and also you can teleport around. Both of them have this. Now, as far as the Witch Succession, I know it hasn't gone down too well with the concept of, I'm going to call it spell weaving, of basically putting your magic missiles between lots of spells that you cast to kind of keep it flowing. It didn't go down quite as well as the Wizards at the moment. So yeah, I would avoid this for new players if you're going to go succ. Again, wait till you've got the class down, because, you know, I just avoid it. And both of these are fairly like middle pace. It's not going to be too quick. So as far as it goes, Witch Wizard, very nice for a new player. Now, if we look at the Tamer, you get to summon a pet, which is really nice. This is a typical short sword class, which means it's very fast paced, and I'd avoid this for a new player. The only reason is there are so many things you need to do as a Tamer to get the same damage output as other classes. So just keep that in mind. It is going to be a lot of work. They are very good, exceptionally good for like PvP and 1v1s. It is very nice class, but for a new player, unless you want to put the time in, I'd potentially avoid it. And same with the Tamer Succession. Again, the people that have mastered this just do so much work, and I really mean they will like just dominate. I mean, it's more for the Tamer in general, but yeah, for a new player, I just avoid this. It's not quite as quick paced as the Awakened Tamer, but you just lose quite a lot of stuff, and that kit you won't realize until you've played it for long enough. So yeah, Tamer, if you really want to put the effort in and you want to have a pet to ride, then yes, go the Tamer, but other than that, I'd possibly avoid it. Now, the Musa, Awakened Musa, this is fairly fast-paced, but I'd say it's very easy to learn, especially when it comes to the Awakening. You are spinny, spinny, death with fire. It works very well, and it is quite easy to clear with. It does low-end and high-end very well, and it is a little bit gear-dependent at the start, but as soon as you hit certain caps, you can just fly through things. So yes, I think this is a very good class to come and play if you wanted to go on something which is high-paced. Plus, you can run in and out. It's very fast. It's fun. I like it. Now, if you look at the Musa succession, again, this is about to get nerfed, so this is going to be slightly, keep it in mind. Again, I think you need to have a better understanding about the Musa before you necessarily jump into succession. And actually, for lower gear score, I'd still say just stick with the awakening. The higher skill cap in the succession is quite nice when you get your head around it and the kit that it gives you. But for a new player, stick with the awakening and just enjoy being a flame-throwing, spinning monster. That'll be my gut reaction. Now, the Maehwa is the female counterpart to the Musa. I would probably say for a new player, avoid this. She's a very good class. I know people are going to get upset because I'm saying avoid this class, but she is very good, but she's just in dire need of just some rework. She's fantastic for just getting down big health chunk targets. She has this huge spear which you can charge up, stab you with it, and she's got so many stiffens. But yeah, unless you're competent with it, you're going to have a bit more of a challenging time, so just keep that in the back of your mind. Now, when it comes to the succession, again, the Maehwa is all about she'll stack up this buff so she gets red, and she'll just do some huge damage. So just keep that in the back of your mind. But what I would turn around to say is, again, for a new player, unless you really want to play this class, or it's still a running around class like a Musa, I just wouldn't really bother, just because there is a high skill cap to it. And you know what, if you're going to come in, just come in and play something like easy just to start with, just to get your head around the game. Now, Ninja, again, I'm going to go back to this as saying like a typical short sword class. You need a lot of skill points, and the Ninja has so many cancels. So to be very good at a Ninja, there's a lot to learn, and the Awakening Ninja as well is all about swapping between the stances to get the most out of your blocks. So just keep that in the back of your mind. This is not an easy class to walk into. It is very fun, it is very rewarding, but yeah, it's not easy. There is a lot of things to learn, so just keep that in the back of your head. Now, similar to the succession, and I'm going to just put a few more things about the Ninja. It is a stealth class, so you can go into stealth. There's a lot about movements. It has some iframes, etc. But yes, there is a lot of combos and cancels to learn. So if you want to put the time in, you can definitely get something out of this class. Really can. But again, you have to put the dedication in to learn everything, and it can be quite unforgiving if you mess something up. But still, I mean, that's kind of similar for most classes, I guess. But yeah, still very good, and I'd say the succession is a lot easier than the awakening to get into. Now, if we go to the Kunoichi awakening, it's similar to the ninja. Obviously it's female counterpart, but her awakening weapon is the big disc, and she can do some absolutely disgusting AoE. She can almost take down teams on her own with that AoE. She's very good. She's still got the quite quick engages. She can go in stealth like the ninja and go in. Again, she needs a lot of skill points. This is kind of typical for the short sword classes for some reason. So yeah, again, very fun, but for a new player, I'd potentially avoid it, but it is another fast-paced class because of cancels. Now, the Kuno succession is sort of similar as well. It's still fast-paced, it still grinds very well, and it still does very well in PvP. You don't have the big AoE that your Awakening does, but still, it's nice to have these options, so just keep that in mind. And if you did want to play, obviously, one of the harder classes to master, this is probably one of them, and I'd say the same with the Ninja. There's a lot of nuances within the class that you have to get your head around, but when you do, the class performs so well. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Definitely something cool. Now, the DK, not the easiest, but when it's in Awakening, when you get to your Awakening anyway, you get this nice range set of abilities, and once you get your head around how to sort of combo them together, this class can grind quite smoothly, and it is very fast paced as well. You like a melee sorc at the start, and then you've also have these glitter cannons for your Awakening. It's very fun, it's very fast paced, and it is quite good to grind with as well, so just keep that in the back of your mind. It's definitely one to try if you wanted to like mess around on a class, definitely. The succession is a lot more melee based though, so you lose that ranged ability, and obviously I would normally say for new players to try out range just to get your head around the game at the start, but it depends what sort of class fancy you like. But yeah, this is really sort of big hitting moves where you can go in, go out like that. You don't run as quick as other classes, but you still have the iframes, and you have some really nice gap close as well. You have some really good protections in your kit, which makes it very, very good for doing your damage and stuff, so pretty nice. Now, if we look at the Striker Awakening, the Striker's cool. They're the martial arts type class, very kicky, punchy, which is why your weapons are basically just fist weapons. and your awakening, you can summon clones. Now the clones at the moment have 100% accuracy, that will change in the future, but it means that they're quite cool and will do a lot of damage. Now keep in mind this is a slower class compared to some of the others, but still not too bad for a beginner to jump on and have a lot of fun. I know every time I play the Striker I quite like it because of what it is. Now if we look at the Striker succession, again I don't know a great deal about these as much other than it still performs quite well. I know a lot of people at the moment are still kind of preferring the awakening because of how the clones work, but yeah, having the ability to go in and out quite well, and you're quite tanky with some SAs and frontals as well, with some very high damaging moves. So yeah, all in all, a pretty nice class if you want to jump in and just have a bit of fun with it. But keep in mind again, having more skill points is always going to be needed when you're looking at successions to get the most out of them. Let's look at the Mystic Awakening. Mystic Awakening, you basically throw dragons at people, not lying, it is very cool. It's a very good grind. It has some struggles in PvP towards the end just because of how it scales and not being so well. But yeah, fantastic PvE grinder just because of how the class works. It flows very nice. There are combos to learn, which normally I'd say is something to avoid for a new player, but they're actually quite nice on the Mystic and they're quite forgiving as well. And it's a really good one to get you into doing the whole back attacks moving behind. So yeah, Mystic Awakening is cool. Now, the Mystic Succession, the biggest issue that I have with this is you're losing your dragon. I mean, come on. You get to throw a dragon. That is cool. But yeah, but still, it's sort of like the Strikers to the extent of it, the damage is just all beefed up a little bit. Again, I'm not 100% so sure on all the stuff about the Mystic Succession other than the bits I've read about. And there's been very mixed reviews. So for a new player, I'd probably avoid this at the start and really just have fun throwing your dragons because it is so cool. Now the Lahn Awakening, one of the best 1v1 classes there was. This class can fly, and I really do mean this class can fly. She's fantastic, she does a lot of spinny moves, she has some quite nice iframes and super armor abilities as well as the range grab. At the time she was the only class that had a range grab like she does. And yeah, very nice for grinding. She can struggle in larger scale things just because of how her kit is. But yeah, very nice. And like I said, flying. That is so useful for trying to get around the map. And for a new player, getting around is quite important. The Lahn Succession, you do more flying. Honestly, you can fly for days as a Lahn Succession. It's crazy. The damage they can put out is very high as well. It's fantastic for grinding. They've just had buff after buff for the last 2 weeks. And honestly, the damage they put down is sick. You do lose a grab though, keep that in mind. But still, this is a really good class. If someone takes your spot, you can still fight back. So I'd say Lahn Succession for a new player, definitely something to consider. I think it's very strong, so a very good one. And it is quite a fast-paced class, which is nice. The Guardian Awakening, God, I nearly got behind that. This is almost the counter opposite to the Lahn. It is slow, it is clunky, but you hit like a truck. Now, I played this and I wasn't a massive fan because it was too slow for me, but some people who like those big, slow, heavy hitters, yes, the Guardian is your class. And same with the Awakening part of it as well. It is slow, but they are heavy hitters with a lot of protection. So yeah, definitely something to think about and very, very strong. Now, the Guardian Succession, which has only recently came out, is still slow. Basically, the Guardian is slow, but has a lot of protection as well and can protect its allies. So he's definitely going to have a part going forward. And did I say big heavy hitting? Slow heavy hitting? Yes, this is like the Guardian thing. It is tanky. She is heavy hitting, but she is really slow. And you have to take that with you. That is part of the class. So you kind of just have to go, that's fine, that's how it is. But yeah, if you enjoy that sort of thing in a game, definitely jump on it. I'd say very new player friendly. Now, the Archer, a personal favourite of mine, very new player friendly. It's ranged, it's very high damage, and it's the only class which you have, you're awakening at level 1. So as soon as you roll onto it, you have the ability for both sets of gear. Because of this though, it will not get a succession. So yeah, I've got 30 seconds to go over the Archer as a whole. Your range, do a lot of damage, you have a lot of protection damage as well, but you are very squishy. If someone jumps on you, you will die, but a very good class to grind on and a very nice first class, definitely. The Shai, again, Awakening, sort of. It's not really Awakening, it more has a talent system and probably won't get a succession, or at least at the moment it isn't. This is a very nice class. It's very easy to grind with. It needs very limited skill points to do quite well with as well. And we'll always have a team fight thing. This is a true support, yet for some reason can do amazingly well grinding. So as far as balancing those things go, just keep that in the back of your mind. So yeah, that is the Shai as well. So I think it's a very good class if you're looking at a new player, and also comes with some life skill buffs, which is really nice. Well, guys, if you got through this far, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you found that interesting. It was quite a challenge to do, and to be fair, I did it in one take because I really wanted it to be sort of like off the head, top of the head points, because I feel like if I'd have written everything down, there's no way I could have spoke about each class within 30 seconds. So just to sum up, just keep in mind, you've got to play what you enjoy. Don't always go for flavour of the month type stuff, because at the end of the day, with nerfs and changes, it always moves. And you know what? If you're going to dedicate your time to something, just play something you like. Or think about what aspects of the game you really do enjoy. If you enjoy the group play, then keep that in mind when you're picking a class, rather than if you really want to just PvE and say, for instance, solo grind, then yeah, you might want to go for something which is an amazing solo grinder. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. As I said, other videos are coming out. I'm just so far behind my personal life at the moment. It's crazy, but good crazy, not bad. Let's just keep that in mind. So anyway, thanks a lot, guys. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye.